So as I've mentioned, this guy we work with at Jim, Clinton supporter extraordinaire. He was talking with Frank the other day, and Frank's telling him, about this Clinton Foundation, and he's like, "What's wrong with them?" It's because he's trying to talk about Trump's foundation, and he goes, "I don't." My friend Frank says, "I don't care." What about his tax returns? What about the tax returns? He's like, I don't care about his tax returns. What is it? What is it really going to show me? Well, it's going to show you if he's given to charities and donations and things like that. He's like, it's his own money. Who cares what he does with it? It's not changing the reason why people are wanting to vote for the man. Speaking of that, what about the Clinton Foundation? Oh my God! Well, what about it? They've give to this one and that one. They do. He's like, yeah, but Jim, how much of the money that they receive in total is actually going to that? That's where the problem lies. It's like they're funneling money through that thing. Oh, no, that's not how it is. Okay. So funny enough, just 2 days ago, this article comes out. I found it yesterday. I sent it to Frank. Next time you talk to Jim, send him this. The Daily Caller website, dailycaller.com. It's all in the headline. It's all in the title. Ready? Just 5.7% of Clinton Foundation budget actually went to charitable grants. Really? Just 5.7% of the Clinton Foundation's massive 2014 budget actually went to charitable grants, according to the tax-exempt organization's IRS filings. The rest of the money went to salaries and employee benefits, fundraising, and other expenses. The Clinton Foundation spent a hair under $91.3 million in 2014. The organization's IRS filings show. But less than $5.2 million of that amount went to charitable grants. That number pales in comparison to the $34.8 million the foundation spent on salaries, compensation, and employee benefits, of course. Another $50.4 million. So the lion's share was marked as, quote, other expenses. Let me tell you something. If you or I or anybody you work for, in other words, the CEO, the company you work for, whoever may be watching this video right now, unless you work for one of the club members. If you work for one of the club members or their subsidiaries, then this doesn't apply to you. But if you or I, generally speaking, right, made $91 million in some business entity, whatever it is we had, and there's a few other expenses here and there, and then the lion's share comes up, $50 million comes up, and we mark that in our taxes. Our accountant says, mark this stuff off as other expenses. Sir, don't we need to be a little bit more open than that? Like, don't we need to see where this money's going? It's the lion's share of the income. The IRS is not going to put up with that. Matter of fact, for even suggesting such a thing, you're fired. I'm finding another accountant. Oh, no, not the Clinton Foundation. No. $50.4 million marked as other expenses, while the remaining almost $851,000 was marked as professional fundraising expenses. Oh, just $851K? Oh, you don't say. Despite taking in an additional $30 million in 2014, the Clinton Foundation spent 40% less on charitable grants in 2014 than it did in 2013. Even as it slashed charitable spending, the foundation increased the amount spent on salaries, employee benefits, and compensation by $5 million in 2014. The foundation also spent $5 million more on other expenses as well in 2014. Sean Davis at the Federalist notes, the bulk of the charitable work lauded by the Clinton Foundation's boosters, the distribution of drugs to impoverished people in developing countries, is no longer even performed by the Clinton Foundation. Those activities were spun off in 2010 and are now managed by the Clinton Health Access Initiative, a completely separate nonprofit organization. Let me stop here for a second. So there's a Clinton Health Access Initiative where they help distribute drugs to, as in, helpful drugs, I'm sure that's what they mean, to impoverished people in developing countries. You don't think, again, conspiracy, I'm sure, you don't think maybe, just considering there's 400,000, corruption scandals with the Clintons currently ongoing, maybe they're not giving health drugs or healthy or helpful drugs to these developing nations, and instead they're making them sick, or maybe even hoping some of the population will die off so they can take over their lands and whatnot. Because I recall watching a video on YouTube where they interviewed a person, I don't remember which African country it was, but he did speak English. I mean, good enough to where you could hear what he was saying, but definitely had that accent, But he could speak English, and it was enough for me to hear what he was saying and understand it. And he essentially was saying, we don't let the Red Cross come in here anymore. We don't let them come. Why not? Because everybody around here is getting more and more sick. And they only started getting more and more sick when Red Cross comes in. We don't do it no more. I saw it. I watched him say it. I thought, oh, they're getting wise. Us slaves are getting wiser to the masters, because the average person's their brain isn't capable of allowing them to think that there's these monsters out there. Oh, it's Hillary Clinton. Look, she's a woman. She's proud. She's a strong woman. She put this fund together, this foundation. They want to help these people. My brain, especially if you're a religious person, their brains are normally completely shut off to even thinking such a thing, even though their own Bible tells them there are people like this, and there's a new world order coming, and there's a mark of the beast, and here's a book of Revelations for you to listen to or read and understand. Well, that's probably for another time. That's not my time. Look around you. It's your time. Just saying. So, final paragraph here. As first reported by the Daily Caller, the IRS launched an investigation into the Clinton Foundation this past July after 64 House Republicans called the foundation a lawless pay-to-play enterprise that has been operating under a cloak of philanthropy for years and should be investigated, in a letter to the IRS, FBI, and Federal Trade Commission. Well, let's see. IRS, FBI, and FTC. Can't really speak on the FTC, but 2 out of the 3, let's take a look at that. Is the FBI going to really look into this Clinton Foundation? Mr. Comey, I'm the head of the FBI. She absolutely broke the law. She absolutely did these things. She absolutely lied to your faces and ours. But I recommend we don't prosecute because there was no intent. Excuse me, Mr. Comey. Funny you should say that. Just a few weeks later, there's massive intent. She used BleachBit to destroy the data on the servers after already getting a subpoena not to do so. Sir, that's massive intent. Yeah, we've already closed the case. We're not reopening it, okay? We've made our decision. So that's the FBI, the 64 House Republicans. We're going to get it. 64 House Republicans, how'd that work out for you? And send that to the FBI. They immediately threw it in the trash, guaranteed. How about the IRS? Oh, wait a minute. What was that lady? What was her name? She had to be let go. She was appointed by Obama. Tea Party groups. We want 501c3, whatever, nonprofit status. We've given you all the paperwork. You keep denying us. What's happening? Well, you're just being denied. Why? Whatever. Oh, WikiLeaks and everything. We dig in there deeper. Oh, you're treating us like we're an enemy. And that's why you're denying us. So my freedoms don't apply because they go against your particular point of view. So she had to be taken out. Get your little $100,000 a year salary. Now you get to resign with your little pension. $100,000 a year, I think, is what she gets paid. And then the most recent IRS scandal. What was that one? Hold on. Let's dig that turd up. No charges filed. News. What we got here? Latest news. IRS. No. Oh, well, that's last year. No. April 18th, still not ready. No criminal charges. Oh, yeah. So that was October 23rd, 2015. Lerner. Lois Lerner was her name. Justice Department. No criminal charges for Lerner or others in IRS. They're good. But they clearly discriminate against these particular groups. These Tea Party members, so-called people, right? Yeah, no charges. Don't worry about it. So that's the Justice Department. What else does the Justice Department say? We're going to let the FBI advise us. Whatever they advise us, we'll do. Does the cop who arrests somebody advise the court on whether or not to charge the person and how they should charge them and what they should charge them with? No, the judge would say, "Excuse me, officer, appreciate you bringing the person in. I'll take it from here. Court system, jury, we got this. Thanks, buddy. Get lost." Justice Department, the head of all law enforcement, we're going to let the FBI advise us on what we should do about that. And if they say prosecute, we prosecute. If they say not to, we're probably not going to. Not even probably, we're not going to. This, I've said this before, is clear evidence. You, Americans, myself too, we are living in what is known as a banana republic. I've had to give the definition not that long ago. What is a banana republic? Banana Republic, Wikipedia. Let's see what Wikipedia has to say. First sentence. For the clothing store, see Banana Republic. For other uses, see Banana Republic. Disambiguation. Banana Republic, or banana state, is a political science term for politically unstable countries in Latin America whose economies are largely dependent on exporting a limited resource product, for example, bananas. You export one thing, you're highly dependent on that one thing, and you have a very politically unstable country. Your country itself is politically unstable. Now, America used to export a lot of stuff, but I think we're leaning towards a limited resource economy. You might have heard it. It's called a service economy. We service the world via debt. We are a debtor nation. All the manufacturing job up, China, India, they got those. Ford recently, we're definitely going back to Mexico. We can't survive. We're going back to Mexico with the little new car plant here. So that's a done deal. We ain't got a whole lot we export anymore. So we might be fitting both those categories. We have limited resource, known as a service economy. We just export debt and paper, and we are a very, as you've seen recently, if you were not sure or were on the fence or never even thought such a thing, you know now, just based off of what's been happening in the political sideshow on TV, that we are a very politically unstable country now. It typically has stratified social classes, including a large, impoverished working class and a ruling plutocracy of business, political, and military elites. This politico-economic oligarchy controls the primary sector productions to exploit the country's economy. So let's think about that statement. Does America fit any part of that? Let's go through this. It typically has stratified social classes. There's a link for the definition. Social class, or simply class, as in class society, is a set of concepts in the social sciences and political theory centered on models of social stratification in which people are grouped into a set of hierarchical social categories, the most common being the upper, middle, and lower classes. Okay, so we have a clear definition. Are we stratified? Are the classes stratified? Social stratification is a society's categorization of people into socioeconomic strata based upon their occupation and income, wealth and social status, and derived power, social and political. As such, stratification is the relative social position of persons within a social group, category, geographic region, or social unit. In modern Western societies, social stratification typically is distinguished as three social classes: upper, middle, and lower. Okay, so we've got a good understanding. It typically has stratified social classes. Check, we do have that. Including a large, impoverished working class. Well, we had previous one of the world's, if not maybe at some point, the world's largest middle class. Not necessarily, which you said, well, working class. Same thing. The working class person, that was pretty much the middle class, because we had the largest. We had the lower class, middle class, and upper class. And by far, you look at the charts going back, 20, 30, further back, even better seems, 50, 60 years. The lion's share of that chart was the middle class. So it typically has stratified social classes, including a large, impoverished working class. Well, hold on. We weren't impoverished. We were making it. We were living the American dream. So that doesn't count. We were not impoverished working class. We were doing very well. Again, I am saying we were doing well. If you look at the numbers, we were, past tense, doing well. And you look at the chart, let me just see if I can find one real quick. Chart of historical, first of all, historical chart of the middle class. Huffington Post, you've got one on here? 5 charts that show how the middle class is disappearing. Bill D. Moyers. It's a different one from BillMoyers.com. Already the richest country in the world, the United States, reached its highest cumulative wealth ever in 2013. It ranked 4th in the world in wealth per person with $348,000 for every American adult. Hold on. It ranked 4th in the world in wealth per person with $348,000 for every American adult. What the hell kind of chart is this? But it still shows, plain and simple. Let me switch screens here for you so you can take a little bitsy peek at this. All right. So 1970, actually 68. Median household income remains stagnant. Middle class Americans are feeling the income squeeze, yada, yada, yada. Here's this. Middle class is getting a smaller and smaller share of the wealth. Again, 1968, 53%, down to current, and this is current as of 2013, 45.8%. Scroll down. The U.S. middle class lags behind much of the world. Australia, looking great. Belgium. Oh my God, look at these EU nations. Italy, France, UK, Japan, indebted Japan, Singapore, Switzerland, Canada, Netherlands, Finland, Norway, New Zealand, Ireland, Spain, Taiwan, Austria, Sweden, Germany, and oh my God, is that Greece? Bankrupt Greece. Holy crap. We're like neck and neck with Greece. So point being, which here we go, fewer Americans self-identify as middle class. In 2008, 53% of Americans considered themselves middle class. In 2014, it was 44%. That's a pretty sizable drop. From 1972 to 2012, the 1%'s incomes grew, the 1%ers, right? Grew by 181%. In the same period, the rest of the country saw an increase of just 2.6%. The 1%ers, 181%. The rest of us, 2.6%. Right. My point has been made. So we have including a large impoverished working class. We now have an impoverished working class. It's going down and down and down. That process is now happening. It's been happening for a little while. So that's a check. Stratified social classes, check. Large impoverished working class. We used to be this big. Middle class, now it's this big. And the lower end is getting bigger. Check. And a ruling plutocracy of business, political, and military elites. This politico-economic oligarchy controls the primary sector productions to exploit the country's economy. Where do I start with that? Do we have a ruling plutocracy of business, political, and military elites? Unless you're living under a rock, you know that answer is a strong, resounding absolutely. And then it says this politico-economic oligarchy controls the primary sector productions to exploit the country's economy. What are our primary sector productions? And I know we do have some oil, but remember what I said at the beginning of this, before I even got down to that sentence? We are servicers. We don't offer any real thing to any economy. You know, I'm trading bananas, and speaking of Banana Republic, and I'm trading oil, and we're giving stuff that here's some debt. Buy some of these T-bills, treasury bills. Buy these. Let us borrow some money in existence. Here's some more debt. We're exporting all this crap, this paper. But what is the primary sector? Banking and finance. What are the most filthiest, rich entities within America? The banking sector. The too big to fails. So does this oligarchy control the primary sector productions to exploit the country's economy? Yes and yes. Is our economy being exploited by these people, the club? Absolutely yes. So do we live in a banana republic, or at the very least, a banana republic in the making, soon to be getting worse? The answer is not no. And I'm not getting the Magic 8 Ball out. I do not need Magic 8 Ball to tell me the answer on this one. This is what happens when an empire fails. And for the reasons, the reasons it's failing is because of this, what I just read you. This oligarchy controlling primary sector. They're above the law. They write the laws themselves for you and I. None of them follow the laws. And then when we tell them, we caught you, you're busted, you're going to jail. Hillary Clinton. Nope, FBI, we're not going to do that. Justice Department, we're going to take the FBI's lead on this one. They don't want to prosecute because there's no intent. Wait a minute. Subpoenaed. You had a subpoena and still deleted those records and you were told not to? Yes. That's intent. Mr. Comey, FBI, get on this right away. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You're not reopening the case. Oh, was it a huge effort? National security issue? Oh, reopening the case? What is it? His answer, that guy J4 on YouTube, that part where he said there's a politico-economic oligarchy that controls the primary sector of productions to exploit the country's economy, and there's a ruling class called a plutocracy of business, political, and military elites. That's us. That's all of us. Clinton, Department of Justice, FBI, all of our buddies. The banks he also mentioned, those are all in there too. So yeah, we're not opening the case. Go pound sand. I'll be honest, I would love nothing more than to one day be at my job doing what I do every day. Breaking news. 500,000 people rush Washington, D.C., arrest the head of the FBI, the CIA, members of Congress, the club members. Citizens arrest. Police department, everybody, they're completely overwhelmed, can't deal with the situation. But I got bad news for you. That will only ever happen in a movie where the good guys win. That only happens in the movies, and that's why they make those movies like that. If the good guy doesn't win, we don't want to watch it. Because then it's telling us of our reality. and we don't like reality. It's why we came here to watch this fiction, to get away from reality. So if it's going to get away from that, make it end the way I want it to end, damn it. Entertain me. Take care.